Domina is a brand new indie game featuring gladiatorial combat, gladiatorial management, pixelated gore and blood, and an awesome soundtrack. Like seriously, I want this game for the music alone. Now this game describes itself with a quote on its website. Drive a group of angry brutes to glorious victory and elevate your father's ludus from the muck and mire of shameful defeat, restoring it to honor via ruthless bloody victory over your opponents. And so, of course, this inspired me to research as much as I could about gladiatorial combat and how gladiators truly lived. So, let's jump into the classes that you can make your gladiatorial slaves into. The three are the Murmillo, the Thrax, and the Retarius. The really hard to pronounce. All of these are real classes. However, the game portrays them quite differently than their real-life counterparts. Now, before I delve into the specifics of what each class does, I want to explain what the point of the different classes were. Gladiator's kit wasn't randomly assigned. Each class had specific sets of weapons, shields, tools, and armor to wear, and each class represented something different. Usually, gladiator classes represented different groups that Rome had been fighting against, and their armor and weapons reflected that. The Hoplomachii held a spear, a helmet with a thick plume, and a small round shield, and were designed to reflect the Greek hoplites, whom Rome had fought and later conquered. The classes also varied in armor, some heavy and some light, with big shields and others with tools like nets and stones. It was not only a battle between personalities, but between what class or style you prefer to watch. Was the quick and nimble class better over a heavy defensive type? Now, the first class I will be discussing is the Murmillo. It's actually a bit interesting how this class was created. The previous class had been called Gallus, and it was a heavily armored class designed to reflect the weapons and armor of the Gauls. The class was retired, however, because the northern part of Italy, which was also a part of Gaul, had fully integrated into Roman society, and therefore it was no longer seemed fit to have them depicted as an enemy in the arena. Now, the Murmillo replaced them, and he had a Murmillo helmet, a scotum, which is the big square shield, a gladius, and a manica, which is usually a thick wrapped linen or metal all running along one arm. And that was the arm not protected by the shield, and shin protectors. And they did not cover the knees as the shield was supposed to do so. This was considered a heavily armored class and played a more defensive role in combat. His armor and weaponry was also very similar to the kit of the Roman legionary. I emailed the dev and asked how the classes work, and here's what he had to say on the Murmillo. The Murmillo is a dual-wield unit, with medium to long range and no shield, good for AI high and evasive or aggro. That's not really true to real life, especially the dual-wield part, and I think he meant by two-handed weapons, because from Let's Plays I've seen it's mostly two-handed weapons. And two-handed weapons would not really become a thing until the Middle Ages, to combat the new developments in full chainmail armor and metal plates being woven into chainmail, leading to the eventual rise of plate mail, meaning it was no longer practical to keep a shield on you, as the armor could offer adequate protection. So no gladiator within the Roman age would be having a two-handed weapon in, ancient Rome. Now, the Thrax wears a similar helmet to the Murmillo and also has a manica, wields a curved blade designed to hit the sides or the backs of opponents, as the Thrax commonly fought against the Murmillo, which could overcome his large shield. He also kept a smaller shield that was of square or rectangular in shape, and he did have greaves that went past his knees to combat the shorter shield size. The dev says on the Thrax is a single weapon plus larger shields, lower to mid-range, good for AI high and evasive or aggro. Which is mostly true, although these guys did have smaller shields compared to others, especially the Murmillo. The Thrax was based off barbarian tribes the Roman had been fighting in ancient-day Bulgaria. The Retarius was a lightly armored gladiator who wielded a trident and a net. He wore a manica and a shoulder pauldron on the arm with the net, and he also wasn't very liked. He was seen as a coward by many and also effeminate. However, if anyone watches WWE, you know that many of the wrestlers play villains and others play hero in stories. The Retarius many times played a hated role, but many people also cheered these guys on. They also got a lot of attention from fans, as their faces were almost always shown since they never wore a helmet. The Retarius is, in-game, a polearm/net/small defense unit with long range. The net allows him to trap other units, weakening attacks and decreasing their speed. Good for AI high and turtle or evasive ability. This is fairly accurate to the real Retarius, as the real Retarius is supposed to be a fisherman. Creative Rome never change. Now, classes were specifically created and pitted against certain classes as well, and the three I mentioned up above commonly were pitted against each other in combat in the real gladiatorial games. So it's fitting that these were all the three classes that fight against each other in-game. And now, with all the gladiatorial classes out of the way, let's talk about the actual fights, the bloodbaths that they were, as dozens of gladiators are slaughtered each game. Except, well, that's not quite accurate. You see, there's a lot of problems with a constant bloodbath every day. One being you can't have good fights. I mean, think about it. Why do people prefer the big NFL pro football matches to Little League or lower tier of pro sports? Well, because you're watching the best of the best, no amateur hour. And you can't have skilled pros for people to idealize and cheer for if everyone is dying or becoming so maimed they can no longer fight. You can't have pro matches if there's no pros left. Another reason is the rounds end way too quickly. All it takes is one strike through the heart, neck, head, stomach, or plenty of other areas or organs, and you can kill a man in one hit. In the game, matches are quick, and I've seen some Let's Players end their matches in Domina in a few seconds with a quick decapitation. In real life, this would be quite boring. Imagine waiting for a championship match between two of the best MMA fighters in boxing or whatever sport you enjoy. The bell rings and it's a one-hit KO within 5 seconds. Match over. That's pretty disappointing. If anything, you want the match to be long, not too drawn out, but long enough for an actual fight. That's what you came to watch anyway, professional fighters showing off their skills and crafts for you to enjoy. In fact, it's believed that gladiators were trained to maim, not to kill. And the most important reasons gladiators didn't just slaughter their foes every round is that it's super expensive. In-game, it's tragic losing your best fighter. All of that money spent to morale, healthcare, gear, training, buying the initial fighter, feeding, and pampering them. This was an expensive sport to partake in, and having your gladiators die was expensive, and so the people in charge were not too keen on every match being a bloodbath. I mean, even if your gladiator didn't die, if he was just maimed, he may never fight again. A broken kneecap can end even modern sport careers with all of modern-day medicine. However, more experienced and professional gladiators had a much better chance of survival than the less experienced or fresh gladiators, who probably did die much more frequently than their more experienced counterparts. And their trainers could let them die due to less money that's been sunk into them. That doesn't mean there wasn't blood, however. Sometimes, people just died. If you're fighting shirtless, without a helmet, wielding swords, someone's gonna die eventually by accident. However, there were plenty of ways to guarantee and satisfy a crowd's bloodlust. Bestiary were gladiators who were trained to fight exotic beasts, think lions and other dangerous foes. This would result either in a grisly death for the animal or the gladiator. Another way to guarantee death and blood was the use of noxi. These were either slaves who were deemed of poor quality, weak or sickly, and criminals who were condemned to death in the arena, either to be cut down by professional gladiators, to have them run over by chariots, or to dodge archers. Or they were thrown in large groups to be killed by beasts in the arena. This was a common fate for early Christians within the Roman Empire. And finally, a simple fight to the death. Powerful people could sponsor a fight to the death to compensate for the loss of the gladiator. This could be a legate or magistrate, like the two who sponsor the gladiators in-game. The sponsor decided if the gladiators died or not, or executed or not after they were defeated. Many times, the sponsored games were to garner favor, which this is where the turned thumb comes from, as he would decide whether he would let a defeated gladiator be killed or spared based on the crowd's wishes. And as for the thumb thing, we're not exactly sure how the gesture worked. It's believed that the thumb was actually tucked inward to symbolize sparing and pointed up or sideways for death, but again, we're not exactly sure. And that's the historical background for Domina. Excuse me if I mispronounced any of the gladiatorial names, I'm not good with Latin. Domina is a game that, while never claiming to be historically accurate, can be used as a teaching tool for the gladiatorial games. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any ideas for games or ideas for me to cover, let me know. And remember, if you like the topic, do your own research. I only scratched the surface of gladiatorial games and how they were organized, the varied classes, and the sense of morals in the games. Anyway, catch you guys on whatever I upload next on this channel.